I think the other dimension now that further complicates it, certainly in my world, is the online community and culture and relationships that the students are really distressed about. That is really difficult because I grew up without computers. So understanding the intensity of the virtual communities and the relationships, even though they haven't done face-to-face, is something I've also had to kind of get my head around, as it's a very real global community used for many things, but very important to the student.
We almost have a different generation and a generation gap. And if we do not participate and to understand the new generation, our gap will get larger and larger. So my brother-in-law said, I don't use computer. I don't use iPhone. I said, okay, fine. Now, guess what he has? He has an iPad, he has an iPhone. He can't live without it, right? So the generation is pushing us into cyberspace. And this is why we invited Josh here to help us to develop and move us forward. And I think this is important because you're going to be dealing with clients from all ages. And I go to Apple Store every week or every other week for my one-to-one. And I got 3 favorite coaches. So they teach me how to do things. And guess what I see? Little kids on the round table. They go tap, 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 and they were all communicating with each other, playing games and happy. And the grandparents look around and say, well, I can't, entertain these guys. They entertain themselves. So our generation is changing. So not only age gaps, and it is generation gaps, cultural gaps, and we have a lot of differences, and we need.
Yes, that only Asian cultures are showing more of a proclivity towards this type of thing, but that seems to be from the cultural standpoint where they're releasing this or focusing the attention on it. They seem to be focusing on that cultural group. We're going to expand, far wider, not to many other cultures as well, but it's going to become very real to deal with and grapple with the next 10, 20 years. As people, as they become more normative in society, I'm having a relationship with this robot, basically, right? So it's like the next frontier of evolution, maybe human evolution, I don't know, or artificial intelligence and all that. But I'm just wondering, where this kind of fits into thinking of the psychotherapeutic world and technology, being kind of it's here now. It's not a science fiction thing anymore, right? So to your point about what kids are dealing with on campuses,
they have an
the virtual world
out there in a community, and they are also expecting us to have a virtual therapy, and they want us to do an awful lot of discussion online, and because that is their culture to do that, and they're disclosing all kinds of things all over the world, but the pressure is on us, so the debate goes on, certainly between us all in terms of e-counseling or not e-counseling, and so it's affecting us all,
Didn't Stephen Hawking just do a lecture via hologram or something? That's where he, yeah. So, it's like, okay, this is really coming in terms of, it's interesting as Scott was talking, I remember saying to my dad, well, way back when, because he was saying, go into computers, it's, you're going to make a lot of money and, blah, blah, blah. And this was like, they were just, hitting the scene, if you will. I was in high school and I went, that doesn't interest me, I want to work with people. And then he said, yeah, but computers are going to be progressive. I said, yeah, but a computer will never replace a counselor. Well, that wasn't, because, then we were, there was no mobile phone, there was no anything.
And now there's Siri.
And now there's like, yeah.
Ask Siri what's going on in the car.
Yeah.
Call Siri. Is the Siri your friend?
Conditioning.
Yeah, like you can ask her questions. Oh, hi Siri, good morning, Holly. It's like, oh, this is just.
She's adorable. Yeah.
And so it's. I think in terms of counseling and what the youth will expect, and maybe even the older generation, I don't know, but I think it is coming, and it's inevitable.
When Scott mentioned that, the first thing, the word that popped out in my head was surrogate.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay, right?
Yeah.
But could robots actually replace human beings?
Yeah, there was that movie, what was the movie called?
Bruce Willis.
Yeah, you actually could just sit in your house all day, but you would send your, what do they call them? Your surrogate, or they were called something now.
Is it an avatar?
Yeah, the avatar. Yeah, it was like, so you just send them, so you create them, and then they actually go out and live your life in society. It's like, oh my God, that's really
I do not know the future.
Yeah.
But I do know that nobody in this world can create a real human being with a soul.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. Okay? But we could produce surrogates in certain areas that help people to overcome some of the difficulties that they wanted to do. Okay? The robots can do the teaching. I mean, I'm sure when I program all this stuff here, the robot could stand up here, do a much better presentation than I am doing now. But then the robot will have difficulties understanding why sometimes I hesitate. Because I am a human being, I'm looking at the different angles of the different presentations here. Then I'm thinking and say, okay, where should we go so that the whole group will benefit? You see? On the one-to-one, it's so much easier, but when you have clients and coming together as a family, and that is not that easy. So therefore, I would say in the near future, nobody's going to replace a warm-blooded psychotherapist. Okay, so let's train well. And I think I overstepped 5 minutes, right?
Just wanted to add one point. Technology is about comfort, and life isn't always comfortable. And I mean, that's what we deal with, right? We deal with the discomfort. So, I mean, I don't think, a technology that's oriented around making something comfortable is actually helping them develop themselves as a person. Or, using computer personality development. I mean, that's something that's missing in technology, right?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it does allow us to meet needs that we may be too shy or too anxious to meet face to face. So it allows us to extend ourselves. It's how we use it. It doesn't use us, it's how we use it.
Yes.
I work in an area where there can be a lot of weather conditions, and so I can't always get to a community to do the work that I do. So we use Ontario Health Network, which is on television, right? We're face-to-face, but it's a TV, right?
Yeah, yes.
We also use sometimes Skype, and we also use telephone sessions. But because of the professionalism that I carry, I have to say to them that there's going to have to come a point in time when we meet face-to-face.
Exactly.
I need to see you face-to-face, so I can assess you differently. And there is that difference. There's a lag always in the communication. That person can be upset on the phone, but you're not seeing them.
Mm-hmm,
and that's, I think, a really important piece in the work.
Right.
So I guess in my professionalism, I always encourage people, let's try and see each other face to face, to have that connection.
I have experience counseling over, not FaceTime, but Skype, and it's from here to Calgary. So why don't you find somebody from Calgary? No, I want you. So, and it was very strange in the beginning, and then it started to warm up. And so then you could have telephones, the only thing is the blankouts. Sometimes, it just didn't come through and the voice was set down depending on the transmission. But it worked. But I still much prefer to have face-to-face. And even though a mixed mode would be good. And we will have lots to talk about and lots of time to talk about, but we'll cover some of the materials. And it is break time. So enjoy your break and stretch. And please, there are 3 bathrooms, one on top, one at the bottom, and one on this floor.
How long is the break? 15 minutes?
15 minutes.
Is that, can you tell me?
Oh, yes. The break is 15 minutes. I'm going to ring the bell.